Hello, my name is Nestor de Armas Guerra, and I'm a doctorate student and teacher at the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. And I'm very happy to be able to participate in this first edition of the Congress Lúdica, specifically in the symposium, A Game of Words, Language and Communication, coordinated by Raquel Ruiz Pareja and Laura Jimenez Rios. Now, I'm going to be presenting my research on rolling the dice or clicking the mouse, a theoretical review of physical versus online games in the EFL classroom. Now, as this is a theoretical review and many researchers have been referenced, those references can be specified in the comment section below if anyone requires so. Now, before continuing, I want to specify the difference between gamification and game-based learning, as they are commonly confused, but they are not the same. Gamification is the art of applying game-like elements and principles to non-gaming contexts, and it was created in the 70s in the business sense first, meaning credit card systems and points, rewards that you gain by buying certain products or buying a certain amount of, spending a certain amount of money in a business, or for example, miles in aviation industry, etc. While game-based learning involves designing learning activities so that game characteristics and game principles are at the basis of learning activities, meaning that the activities created are created as games from the very beginning. While in the previous gamification, it was introduced in the 90s in education, and it was the idea of having a normal, already existing activity in which certain characteristic of a game is introduced. Once again, for example, earning badges, rewards, or whatever in an already existing activity. So the activities and games that I'm going to refer to now are pertaining to those of game-based learning. Now, this research came to be because of my own experience of utilizing both physical and online games in my EFL classroom. And I wanted to discover what researchers had already explored on these subjects. But first, physical games refer to those as, for example, board games, scavenger hunts, bingos, escape rooms. In general, games that take place in class and require students for them to move, for able to do that, to be able to do them, or physically touch and move pieces, for example, in a board game. While digital games, in many cases, can be those same games, for example, online bingos, online escape rooms, but they only require for a personal device, for example, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, etc. Now, the way that this research took place was first investigating what researchers had said of board games or any other physical games in the EFL classroom, next digital games in the EFL classroom, and after the comparison that had already taken place of these. Now, all of these investigations or research took place in the same form, meaning that there were two groups, one control group, two, neither of these were applied, meaning that traditional education was used, and another group in which either physical games or digital games or both were introduced. Now, a pretest and a post-test were always conducted. In that pretest, only the English level was examined to see where they were at, while at the post-test, both the English level to see if they had actually gotten better in any case or in any sense, and also a qualitative test took place in which the students were asked if they had liked having those physical or digital games or both in the classroom. Now, in general, all of these research come to the same conclusion, meaning that the group in which these games were introduced always were better off in the English language than the control group, meaning that they always had better language acquisition and had better retention skills, while those in the control group were usually also less motivated and had less practice, as in these games usually practice is emphasized as of course, there is greater engagement, and that means that students are more motivated to learn the language in as they are playing a game. Now, What was different in what they did find was different between physical and digital games were, for example, in preparation, as both physical and online games require significant preparation for material creation by the teachers. So it wasn't a great difference, but for example, it depends on the activity itself, as a physical escape room requires a lot more preparation than an online escape room, but maybe a bingo is the same in both. However, returning to this idea, for example, an escape room, the space that is required is different, of course, because an escape room usually involves at least, of course, one room, but usually more than one, and you have to actually decorate and create realia for it to take place. While an online escape room, you only have to create activities that simulate it. Moreover, physical games provide a unique face-to-face interaction that digital games do not, as digital games are usually, not always, individually. Of course, there are collaborative games that are done digitally, such as Kahoot, but physical games are almost always collaborative. Moreover, the time needed to play either does differ because physical games usually take longer to play. Think about, for example, about a game of Monopoly that was done in the EFL classroom, while digital games are usually much faster and can be introduced as only a part of a lesson rather than, for example, a Monopoly game that took half of the entire lesson. Um, Moreover, it was seen that these games, of one side or the other, of course, had drawbacks, including accessibility, adaptability, and technical barriers, for example, that could take place utilizing digital games such as internet connection lost. However, once again, they came to the conclusion that all kinds of games that were introduced into the EFL lesson were, without a question, regarded as very useful in practicing and developing English, the English language. Therefore, they should really be introduced in our lessons. However, what is clear is that more research has to take place in this comparison, as there wasn't that much research um, of the differences in between them. Therefore, that would be a point of investigation for the future. And thank you very much for having listened to me. Thank you.